Look till now, there ain't been nothing that I couldn't leave behind. I'm Chris Blaney. I'm from Hyndman, Pennsylvania.
I'm Josh Lance, and I'm from Mount Savage, Maryland.
You can't be afraid to ask. You can't be afraid to, like, when I book these, runs down south, I mean, we're 14 hours away from home. And I call venues, and I Facebook message them, I email them, I text them. I just keep hounding them. And I would say for every 50 venues I contact, I might get 3 or 4 jobs out of it.
How did you guys meet?
How did we meet?
Through my cousin was the drummer of his band coming out of high school.
Yeah, I had a band in high school. His cousin was the drummer for it. And just kind of, we never really crossed paths. And he filled in a couple of times when I couldn't play with the group. But I never met him until a couple years later. And then we started playing together in a band called Blaney. We just decided one time we ought to just start doing some acoustic solo stuff, get away from the band a little bit more. And so now here we are traveling the country.
What are we doing here tonight? What's the event? What brings you guys here? Where are we at?
This is the end of a run for me down south. I started in Moorefield, West Virginia last Thursday night. And we got some friends that live in Green Cove Springs. We're trying to hit the Florida area a little bit more. And High Springs had us here back in, I think, was that February?
Yeah,
First week of February. And they've been really good to us. Especially, it's hard to book something 14 hours away from home. And they've been good to us, and they decided to book us again tonight. And we've really been looking forward to it.
Have you always been playing together?
It's my brand as far as my original music goes, but we work together a lot, and we're getting tighter together. I do a lot of solo stuff, and then the other majority of the stuff we do is probably duo acoustic stuff like this, because we have a full band, but it's hard to drag a full band into some of these smaller venues. That's why we started doing the acoustic stuff together. And I try to book it as much as we possibly can, just because I think we really feed off each other well, picking and doing stuff. Especially as we got to know each other a little better,
So did y'all both just start playing locally first, or how did that work for you?
Well, he was playing locally probably since I was about 5 years old.
Yeah.
He's got me beat.
I started out of high school, and then I was 17. I joined a working band that worked every night for 2 years straight. Every Friday, Saturday they could work, which was pretty well every one. And then from there, I was pretty well in the local music scene and have never really got out. So I've always been in the amateur local bands, which helped drive us to say, hey, let's travel, because he played locally since he was like 10. I did it since I was about 17, and we just kind of felt like the area we live in probably had heard enough of us, and someone else needs to hear it.
What genre of music do you play?
I always classified as Southern rock. Probably primarily what we play is country and on the bluegrass side of things, but the way I look at Southern rock's comprised of rock and roll, bluegrass, and country, which are my 3 favorite things. So I just kind of use that as kind of like a blanket statement to cover all categories,
Who or what is some of y'all's inspiration? There's a reason why you got into music. There's a reason why. There's always
so do you mean like famous people, or like people that influence?
Family, friends, anything.
So for me, my grandfather taught me how to play guitar. We still play in a bluegrass band together, and he gave me a guitar just like this one. Only the other one I have is about 10 years older than this one, and he taught me about bluegrass and classic country music. I grew up listening to classic country music out of a station called WVSB out of Romney, West Virginia, all my life, and so that's how I learned all that. But also, my dad, he loves all kinds of types of music, reggae, ska, alternative. But, he got me hooked on stuff like the Allman Brothers and Leonard Skinner and that kind of stuff. And so I kind of get it from both sides of my family. And just the inspiration, I guess. And then when I met him, we kind of have the same interest, but it's not quite the same, but they kind of meet in the middle somewhere.
Jerry. Garcia. You know, for me, it was Jimi Hendrix to start, David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, and then Jerry Garcia. Just heavily influenced all of my playing.
All right, well, here's a fun one. It's like, what's your current favorite song or band?
That's tough. You want to start with that one?
Yeah, I don't really have an answer for current music.
You mean like current band?
Just current.
Or what?
You.
What
You
were?
can find
Oh.
music that's 20 years old. Who cares?
Oh yeah,
But,
right.
like, what are you currently jamming to?
Let me look at my Apple Music playlist. Man, a lot of stuff. I've been on a Molly Hatchet kick for a long time. It was just really cool because they're from the Jacksonville area. I tell you, a great artist who I'm missing back home tonight. His name's Daniel Donato, Cosmic Country. I just saw him at Delfest up in Cumberland, Maryland. And that guy just, I mean, I'm not really big into modern artists, and I really haven't found anything that really interests me. But when I heard that guy playing live, I said, this is it. You know, I got a guy now. So Daniel Donato is probably big on my list. What about you?
Man, that's a tough one. I've been going back and listening to Django Reinhardt lately, from the 30s and 40s, you know, jazz guitar player. A lot, too, you know. So that would be on the top of my list.
What does music do for you? There's a reason why you're so passionate about it. There's a reason why you can't stop doing it. There's a reason why there's something about music.
Well, for me, I guess it's the thing that I do best. You know, I'm an electrician. I do all kinds of other stuff, but it's always been my strongest character quality, I guess, whatever you want to call it, you know. But lately, the big thing is I play guitar just so I can travel the country and see stuff. Like, you know, coming down here, I would have never set foot in High Springs, Florida, had it not been playing guitar. You know, I found a booking down here. And so now playing music to me is just a way to travel around and meet new people, such as yourself, and all kinds of great people that I've met all over the country just because I play music. And it's kind of like a universal language that I can use to talk to people with. And they relate on that level, you know. But you?
Yeah, for me, music, it's definitely something different now than it was when it started because I've been at it for 25 years. So when I started, obviously, it was like extreme passion and just wanted to play. And to be able to play and just be able to play one guitar solo, I think I can remember my goal was. You know, and now years later, after getting lessons when I was a kid, and now it is kind of half a lifestyle, half a job. And when COVID hit, I tried to get out. I was like, I'm going to take a break. This is I've been playing for almost 20 years. And then Chris and my cousin Hunter come up and said, no, you're not. You're going to come play with us. And I couldn't much argue. So now I focus my efforts on trying to make him sound good and trying to make the band sound good. And that's basically my goal, is sounding good now. More than anything, more than a paycheck, more than a passion. It's probably about sounding good and putting on a show. 'Cause I've done so many of them. Me and him have done them together. Sometimes we can put a show on acoustically that outdoes what we can do electrically, which is really, really a tall.
Yeah, I guess because you know, a lot of times acoustically, you connect with the audience. You're more of like a one-on-one kind of thing, and it's just a lot of fun to really, like he said, put on a show. And when I look out in the crowd and I see people singing along, especially to my own original music, that's even cooler. But I see people singing along to even an obscure tune that we might just pick up and play, and I see somebody out there enjoying what we're doing. It really gives you a good feeling inside, you know, like.
The entire bar's on their feet, clapping, screaming at the end of the night. One more song. It's like, it's just two acoustic guitars, guys.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just so much fun, you know?
How does music impact the community?
The crazy thing is, like, I'm not a huge, this is going to sound really, really nuts, but I'm not a huge music lover. Like, I don't, my brother and dad, they're not musicians, and they can't go, you know, an hour without listening to music. Me, a lot of times, I'll drive in a car for 3 hours and listen to nothing but the tire noise going down the interstate, you know. But I watch what it does to people in all kinds of different communities and the crowds. you know, when you're on stage, you see everything that's going on in the crowd. And I watch this person over here crying about this song because it reminds them of somebody. Watch somebody over here laughing because they love this song; it's their favorite song. And I watch somebody over here, you know, they care less about that song, you know. So it's like it impacts everybody so differently, but it's still universal language that we all communicate with, which is really cool.
All right. Do you play original music or covers? This is kind of what we were talking about earlier before we got the camera rolling, but that's a very important thing. A lot of people don't understand that because this is also for people that are actively trying to become musicians outside of just playing.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. So there's a fine balance there. We do play a lot of original music. You pretty much always played covers.
Yeah, I've kind of always been in a cover band, lead guitar player. Any original work I would have done would have just been playing lead guitar over someone's originals. Chris does all the writing.
So I've written songs ever since I was a kid, and I get a lot of good positive response and feedback from them. But at the same point in time, I'm still an unknown artist. Basically, you just can't kill people to death with your original music, you know. And no matter how good it is, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I really believe in my original music and I like it. But it doesn't matter how great it is if people don't know it and they can't tap their toe to it and they can't sing along with it. They really don't care. So as I was telling you earlier, a lot of times my strategy is, okay, I'll think, okay, I need to put an original song into this next couple minutes here. We're going to do it now, and then I'm going to back it up with something that everybody can sing along to. Like I don't remember what original song we did, Blue Collar Blues or something, and then I backed it up. Everybody clapped, you know, and then we hit them right with Sweet Home Alabama because I know they can sing along to it. Because the worst thing you want to do is bore your audience, and then they don't pay attention to you. And then if you're playing original music and they're not paying attention, it doesn't matter anyhow because nobody cares. So if you can kind of plant the seed of your original sounds and then reel them back in with a cool cover song that a lot of people know, that's kind of our formula for doing things, you know. But some places they want you to play nothing but originals, and that's awesome. And then other places it's like what's that Confederate Railroad song that says we don't like original material unless it's been done before, you know. So there's two different schools of thought there, I guess.
Any advice for someone that's trying to get gigs, especially paid gigs? That's like the golden thing, right?
Right.
Outplay everyone around you.
Yeah.
Then you'll be booked no matter what.
Yeah, I think I certainly don't outplay a lot of people, but yeah, just get in there and practice and be the best. I always say you can't be the best if you ain't, you know.
And back home, if we call to book a job, they'll do a cartwheel to book us, you know, they know who we are.
Yeah.
Out of town, it's like, oh, we're not that big anymore, Chris.
Yeah, so it kind of brings you back to,
Yeah.
You just really need to don't ever be afraid to sell yourself. You know what you need to do is believe in who you are, what you're doing. What you're doing for a reason. Believe in yourself and let that confidence shine through when you're talking to a venue owner. Because if you act to a venue owner like, well, I'd like to play here, you know, but if you're acting squirrely about it, but if you come in there with a confident attitude and just say, hey, love to play here. Here's what I can do for you. Here's also back it up with some videos, pictures. Always have your phone on you at every gig. Get videos, pictures. Every time you're around people and you got your instrument or whatever you're doing in public, be taking pictures, be taking videos, and use that and say to these venue owners, hey, here's, you know, my last show. Here's the last couple shows. Like, so just talk a good game and be able to back it up, I guess, like Josh says. And that's kind of the secret.
Work hard, be confident.
And don't be afraid to be rejected because it's going to happen everywhere you go.
So tell me about some of the challenges that you've come across, you know, while chasing your dreams. I know there's a ton, trust me, but people, you know, they need to know about the hardship and the challenges, man, because you just don't, you know, you don't just go out there and do that stuff without having some.
Yeah, so for one, it's a tough blow sometimes when you realize that not nobody, but you know, a lot of people might not really care what you're doing. They don't care that you just drove 14 hours here and you're playing this song and you practice this song for 12 hours to get it great, and you look at them and they have no response to what you're doing. It's kind of hurtful, but you can't let that get away. So that's a big challenge for me.
Try and hold down a family and travel, you know.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
Big challenge for me having a wife at home and some kids, and you know, they think you're on vacation permanently when you're out playing music, and that's half true. Only half though.
The other half is like the other night we were down in Jeffersonton, Virginia, drove 3 hours to get to the show, played for 3 hours, tore down for a half hour, then drove 7 hours to Santee, South Carolina. You know, it's all in the same day. You know, it's tough. It really is tough. I've always wanted to live this life, and everybody says it's awful and it sucks, and there's a lot of that really is true. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's worth it.
What's y'all's 9-to-5 jobs?
A carpenter, electrician.
Yeah, I do car detailing too. My cousin has a car wash back home. I do some detailing and stuff for him, and I'm an electrician. Yeah, he's a carpenter.
What do you need to perform? Like when you're like, okay, I want to go somewhere and perform, because I don't know what they provide or they don't provide. So what do you actually need to perform?
That's a really good question. Obviously a mixing board to mix your sound. We have 2 main speakers, monitor speakers if you need them. Lights. A lot of times this time of year it's not crucial if you play earlier gigs because it stays light out. But you know, we played 7 to 10 tonight, so I always bring the lights. Banners like this with the name on it. That's not crucial, but it really helps if you're trying to make a name and build your brand. And then sometimes you run into, like last Friday night, we played at this brewery in Virginia, and we showed up and they had an entire sound system there. All we had to do was plug in. I mean, we still use some of our equipment, but I didn't know that. So we always travel with, you know, guitars, own mixing board, our own lights, our own sound. That way we're self-sufficient no matter where we go.
When did you start playing music?
I don't know. I think I was about 10. About 16 years ago. I'm 26 now, so.
Yeah, I would have started probably as soon as I could have, but my parents didn't quite recognize I wanted to play. They just thought every kid wants a guitar. And for some reason I wanted to play since I was like 5. And then I had a beat up guitar from like that was left over from my dad's, and I would just bang on the strings all the time. And eventually my mom was like, "Hey, he doesn't really let that thing alone. Let's see if he, you know, really is going to play." So, you know, a lot of credit to my mother. She recognized it. Probably about 11, 12, she got me a guitar. And I started playing like punk music with my friend. We didn't even have to tune our guitars, but we just played. We just did not give up. And then from there, I didn't give up, and she got me lessons when I was 16, and it was a wrap from there. By the time I was 17, I was playing in the local bands, and haven't gotten out yet.
What's your thoughts on these 3 words? My favorite words ever. Never give up.
You
ought to fight me once, you know.
No.
I know all about them words.
Yeah, you just can't. Like I was telling you earlier, like I'm a huge believer in the American dream, and we're just really privileged to just be able to get out. I don't care who you are, where you're from. I don't really come from a very wealthy background at all, but I still have put myself in a position through hard work and determination and some help from family and friends to be able to play music, to try it out. And I think you should never give up on your dream.
So technically I tried and Chris wouldn't let me, and you know, 2020 when COVID happened, I was like, check this out, I'm going to give up.
Wouldn't let him.
He wouldn't let me.
No. Here we are.
What led you to that path of like, dude, I'm done. Like I don't want to do it anymore.
Oh yeah, a lot of people hit it. I probably knew it was fake in my own head, but I was like, it was more like I needed a break. I was like, you have played and worked. So work 40 hours construction, and then go out and play.
Especially the local shows.
Yeah, local shows, and go out and
Burn
play
out.
all weekend. The next thing you know, right back on the job on Monday. Don't even feel like, because you work all weekend, you don't feel like you had a break. And 20 years for me went by like, bam. And I was like, maybe I need to take a break. But
you just kind of get burnt out doing it. I mean, like, there's so many events, weddings, birthdays, funerals, all kinds of stuff that I miss because I'm a musician. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And it kind of, I wouldn't say it sucks, but like you kind of get to a position where it's like your friends have seen you play and they don't really ask you to do anything anymore because they know that you're going to be playing. And your family and your girlfriend, wife, whatever, they know you're going to be playing. And it's kind of like, I'm just going to go play the same songs to a bunch of strangers and drink a couple beers and go home. And just, it's kind of like going to work. And you get sick of work. No matter how much you love your job, everybody gets sick of work at some point. And, yeah, it's definitely a real thing. Burnout's a real thing. And I haven't been playing. I've only been playing about half as long as he has, so.
yeah, it happens and changes. But
Yeah.
What was your first instrument and why?
Guitar was my first.
yeah, same guitar.
I think it's just kind of like a universal instrument. I do a little bit of mandolin, playing and banjo too. He plays banjo some as well. But I think there's always work for a guitar player, no matter what genre, you know.
Yep.
Everybody likes a guitar.
Have you been in any bands?
A lot for me, more than I'll ever be able to remember, because I don't keep track of. I don't have pictures or anything like that that made it through.
Yeah, I've been in probably 3 or 4 different cover bands, and it's always been fun. Nothing as serious as what we're doing now, though.
Any advice for someone chasing a dream or pursuing a passion? Not even just in music, just in general.
First and foremost, find people like-minded, like me and him and you, you know, link up with people that are trying to do the same thing, trying to make it on their own. Like, but secondly, I tell people all the time, you gotta be genuine. Like, you gotta quit watching TikTok, quit watching Instagram, and saying this is how I believe because of this video, or I'm gonna start doing this because of. You need to start making your own videos, making your own songs, making whatever, and speak your idea, because your idea is just as important as anybody else's. And, you know, personally, my thoughts and feelings are so important to me. And it's just a blessing I get them to share with, you know, people the way I feel. But, yeah, I would just say be true to yourself and always speak your mind and always let your light shine, I guess, you know.
So how long have you been traveling playing music? It's probably a little different for you possibly, but.
Well, 6 months now.
Yeah,
That's new.
Yeah, we're both local musicians till we did this for the most part.
So I literally met you guys on like your first run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was our
Yeah.
first ever run out of the area. I say all the time, I feel like I'm trying to move a mountain with a spade shovel. You just feel like you're never going to get anywhere, ever. And it's so tough. Like, it just makes you want to crawl up in a hole and die. You know?
and you might not, is the reality.
You might not, and you
so,
got it,
yeah.
and you've got to face reality too that you might not.
Yeah, no, hurry roll.
Yeah, you've got to face reality that sometimes you might not make it. But still, the experiences, I'd rather be 40 years old and never make it anywhere and be able to tell people about that cool time I played down in Alabama, or one time I was playing in New Jersey, or one time I was in Florida, whatever. Like, me, it's all about the experience, you know.
Plans or goals for the future?
Yeah, the plan's just going to keep recording as much music as possible, playing as many places as possible, and meeting as many people as possible.
The big push.
Big push.
It's now.
Before we get too old to do it.
Yep. Because I already am, technically.
He says this, but I won't let him.
What do you guys typically make for a 3-hour show?
My rule of thumb is I feel like every musician in my band or outfit should be making at least $200 per show minimum. Then, of course, we put tips out. We don't get that all the time, especially if we're playing as a full band. Sometimes you just can't, between 4 people and a sound guy. But Yeah, my rule of thumb is $200 a guy minimum. It's just not worth your time. Anything less than that. You play cover music to make tips, and
Yeah, it's like if you don't play cover music, it's really hard, almost impossible.
yeah, absolutely.
So
And I enjoy the covers that we do. I really do. I think we
Mhm.
select a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
But you have to. You got to make your money and then infiltrate people's minds with your. I listen to my own music more than anything else, and people think, yeah, that's real
it's kind of what I do.
arrogant sounding. But like, it's kind of the thoughts in my head that are manifested into physical media. So that's why, I guess I just like listening to my own music more than anybody else's. Chris Blaney Music on Facebook, Instagram, and things. Chris Blaney Official. Same thing with YouTube. I'm always trying to mention to people, don't forget we're on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, YouTube, Deezer, TikTok. If you make TikTok and Instagram videos, you can use my music in the background. It's there. So pretty much wherever you can find music, we're on there.
Yep, and finding me is next to impossible because I've never had social media. Probably never will. So
He's on Chris Blaney Music.
it's it. Yeah. Unless you pick up the phone and call me like it's 1997, it's really hard to get hold of me.
Thank you, Tilt, for coming out and stay tilted.
I gotta get a selfie with you guys for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate the interview. This is the first interview anybody's ever done with us.